So I want to talk about the practice of tipping, which supposedly began in Tudor England. By the 17th century, it was expected that overnight guests to private homes would provide sums of money, known as vails, to the host's servants. Soon afterwards, customers began tipping in London coffee houses and other commercial establishments. So tipping, which may have originated in the taverns of the 17th century England, where drinkers would slip money to the waiter to ensure promptitude, or T.I.P. for short. It wasn't embraced by all Americans when the custom began to make its way into our country's taverns and dining halls. My understanding is that it is to ensure prompt service, which is tips. So, for waiters at sit down restaurants, bartenders, barbers, hairdressers, attendants at beauty salons, taxi drivers, tour guides, and food delivery folks, which I didn't know about that, the tip should be calculated as a percentage of your total bill as follows: 10% usually means you aren't totally happy. 15% usually means, well, it was acceptable. 20% for really good service. Now, I remember when 10% was standard, so how it hiked up to 20%, which now is pretty much almost mandated by these competent, shall we say, waiters and waitresses. I don't know how that started. Restaurant customers who pay the food portion of their bill but not the mandatory gratuity have at times been arrested, so it's reported, but charges are generally dropped. Some cruise lines charge their patrons $10 a day in mandatory tipping, which does not include extra gratuities for alcoholic beverages. Now, I know working from a hotel casino industry, that there are certain parties that have to have a tip included in their bill. So I can't imagine walking away from that because it's part of your credit card charge, so I don't know how anybody can actually walk away from a mandatory gratuity. But the fact is that is a contradiction. Gratuity means I'm doing something out of my heart, right? If it's mandatory, that kind of crushes that theory. So why do we need to tip? Linster, whoever that is, points out that the cultural practice of tipping allows restaurant owners to unfairly transfer risk to the servers because they make their money on the bill without paying their workforce a real wage. That part is up to the customer's subjective assessment of the server's performance. Okay, so let's talk about tips supplementing an employee's income. Yes, these waiters, etc., are employees of their establishment, or they should be, so that they are paying taxes on their wages and their tips. Oh yes, the IRS said that they should be paying taxes like the rest of us and have come up with a way to calculate those rates, since no one is going to declare their full amount of tips unless, of course, they're getting ready to retire and want to tip the tables, top the amount they can get for retirement. Yes, and then the employer has to pay extra taxes too. Not a bad strategy, folks. Over-report your tips to ensure a prosperous retirement. So yes, the employee's performance should be what dictates not only wages but tips. So stop tipping to bad employees, please. You're ruining the Fair Acts Agreement, if there ever was such a thing. The fact of the matter is that employers try to do everything they can to pay employees as little as possible. Employees are going to try to get you to tip them as high as possible regardless of the service that they gave you. Did you know that the minimum wage in Nevada is based on whether employees are offered health insurance or not? If not offered, the minimum wage is higher. If offered, lower. Oh, and check out what kind of loopholes there are in offering this generous benefit to employees. These would be the same employers who work hard to make sure their newly hired employees didn't get enough hours to qualify for benefits. Smooth. That's my abomination. Do you feel obligated to pay tips? Then you have failed to understand that the purpose behind it is to ensure prompt service. So that's that you get good service. If you're not getting good service, don't give them a tip anyway, no matter what the men behind the pulpit say. It's not a good business practice. End of message.